As the leader of a small to medium-sized business, you wear a lot of hats. Visionary, creator, motivator, and everything in between. You know your core business, your customers, and your competition. And you also know that to stay atop your industry, performing well today is just the beginning. You need to be ready for tomorrow too. For new products, new prototypes, new services, and new business models. And while you might be ready to take on what's next, can you say the same about your financial and operating systems? Because to make your business dreams a reality, you need business solutions that keep pace with a constantly changing world. That's why successful SMBs have moved to the cloud with Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central.
Now, more than ever, small and medium businesses need to embrace digitalization because business as we know it is changing. The expectations are changing. The customer experience is changing. And even where we work and how we work is changing right in front of our eyes. And yet so many businesses are still limited by systems that simply don't allow for change. That's why we launched our next evolution of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Nav, GP, and SL to enable businesses to be powered by the cloud, powered by data, and powered by business intelligence. We brought together the productivity of Microsoft Office 365, the data connectivity and business intelligence of the Microsoft Power Platform, the security, scale, and geographic presence of Microsoft Azure. Dynamics 365 Business Central unifies these assets into a single application. This enables teams to connect with their finance, sales, service, supply chain, manufacturing, and distribution data. This connectivity ultimately allows teams to adapt faster, work smarter, and perform better.
Move to the cloud with confidence to adopt new business models faster, with flexible deployment options and innovative solutions that grow alongside your business. Connect people, processes, and insights to make better decisions quicker. And optimize productivity with embedded guidance and interoperability with Office 365 and Teams. Increase financial visibility and performance to close your books faster. Get reports sooner and obtain real-time cash flow and performance metrics at any time, on any device. Today's marketplace isn't just competitive, it's constantly changing, with every day and every minute bringing something new. Be equipped for what's next and unlock limitless possibilities with Business Central.
Hello everyone, I'm Mike Morton. I'm the General Manager of Dynamics 365 Business Central. I hope you enjoyed the video that you just saw. We're very excited about the energy and momentum that we're seeing with Business Central, and it's great to be here as part of Directions Asia. We think Directions Asia is going to be a fantastic event to learn more about the product, connect with other partners. We hope this keynote will be valuable for you to see and learn what's new and exciting about Business Central. And we just want to thank you guys for being part of this event, and we hope it works well and have a good next couple of days. For the agenda, pretty brief agenda. We're going to start with a little bit of recap of what we delivered in 2021 Wave 1. We released that in April. We think it's a fantastic release of Business Central. We'll discuss some of the momentum around the product. I think you'll see that we've had a lot of success with the Business Central Cloud and offering, and we're excited to share that with you. We're going to show some demos, but definitely stick around because at the end we'll have some partner announcements, some very exciting things happening in the ISV community. And last but not least, the roadmap. We know a lot of people attend these conferences wanting to know what's coming up. You're going to hear about a little bit of that here in the keynote. You'll hear a lot more about that in sort of upcoming sessions. So please stick around. We think it'll be a fun 45 minutes, and thank you guys for joining. So for Business Central 2021 Wave 1, we really had three main themes. The first was our new big bet around onboarding. And you might have heard me talk about this in the past, but it really is that end-to-end experience from the moment that you might think you have a problem in terms of how can I optimize my business or my business processes and want to learn about and discover what's available. So the moment I want to contact a partner and how do I onboard, get started, learn, maybe do a demo, to eventually starting to implement the product, actually getting my data into Business Central, being onboarded, being implemented, and then ultimately using the product. Even when you've been using it for a while, you might have new employees, new processes, and making sure that it's easy to use, easy to discover, and really ensuring that sort of end-to-end experience of Business Central is sort of as simple, as fast, as logical, kind of across the board. We're very committed to the product really being absolutely the easiest, fastest, best business application solutions in the market. This is going to be a multi-year journey. We think this first wave that we have is very exciting, the foundations of the new onboarding platform, which you can read about. We have a nice little handy link. It's ak.ms/BC onboarding. If you go to that link, you can read about documentation on the technical aspects, how you would actually implement your own custom onboarding, best practices, how you would, when you should use tours and the checklist and what's sort of the best way to do that, other bits of sort of advice. And then we're going to hear more about, in the roadmap, about sort of upcoming investments in onboarding, where we're going to continue to invest on this, make it a great experience year over year. We'd love to hear your feedback. We're very excited about this, first big step. The second big theme is better together with Microsoft. When you bet on Business Central, you're not just betting on the great out-of-the-box experiences that we have in Business Central, and you're not just betting on the great IP that many of our ISVs add. You're betting on the full weight that you get from the Microsoft platform, and Microsoft apps and solutions as well. And so we continue to look at how do we best integrate with Teams, with Office, Word, Outlook, Excel. How do we work great with Dataverse and the Power Platform? We're going to go further and further. We want to make sure that whatever you're doing in productivity, whether it's real-time communications, chat, video, asynchronous, you can do those types of activities and have Business Central integrated with that. Whether it's on the back end with Dataverse and Power Platform, Power BI, Azure ML, bringing the full power of sort of Microsoft integrated with Business Central, we really think is a huge differentiator. We think it's a big reason why Business Central is the best offering for the SMB market today. And we believe it's only going to get better and better going forward because you have the innovations of not just our team, but all of Microsoft and the great integrations that we do. And then last but not least, we remain very committed to the core of Business Central being a great best-of-breed business application solution. We continue to invest in finance, supply chain, warehousing, manufacturing, the core parts of what people use Business Central for day in, day out. Some of the innovations that we did, many of them actually came from you. They came from partners and customers giving us the top feedback on the product. Things like being able to correct dimensions, extending reports, universal prints, expanding to more geographies. You're going to see some of that in the demos. This is just a very short list that we have up here on the slide. We're very committed to working on the foundations of the products. When the people use their business apps every day, they're happy, they're satisfied. We want to make sure that we have a very successful sort of customer base using the products that we community deliver for them. Excellent. All right, so my next slide, this is kind of a favorite for us. We're always trying to expand our global availability of Business Central, and we continue to make great progress. Of course, we have a lot of availability today in North America. We had a lot of course, in Europe as well. Those are some of the strongholds. We've made big strides in South America. You can see a lot of the blue filled in there. Of course, we've made some great progress in Asia. You can see South Africa, really kind of filling in the map, really making sure that wherever your customers might be, if you're a Business Central partner, that we'll have our cloud or our online service. And perhaps even more exciting, we've really enabled us to increase the rate at which we add countries. And so you'll see over the course of the next 6 months, us adding another additional, I think, 10 plus countries, many of these in Africa and Asia, really expanding the footprint of Business Central. And so we've made it just easier and easier for us to bring on new countries, really ensure that Business Central is not just globally available, but has the regulatory features, the capabilities, the performance that we need to work around the world. So the next thing's an announcement. We made this announcement a couple weeks ago. If you saw the announcement on Twitter or LinkedIn or our virtual launch event, that's great. If you didn't see the announcement, you'll definitely want to sit here and sort of watch this. But we made a significant change to our storage pricing and policies. And so in the past, we gave 80 gigabytes of storage to all Business Central tenants. And that part isn't changing. So we're keeping the same. If you get a tenant of Business Central, you get 80 gigs by default. That's true for all customers. But the big change is this next line. We're now adding a per user allocation. So if you have, for every Essentials or Premium user, you get 2 gigabytes or 3 gigabytes of extra storage. So if you have 20 users of Business Central, let's say Essentials users, you'll get 20 times 2 or 40 gigabytes of storage on top of that 80 gigabytes for 120 total. But if you're a big customer, if you have, say, 200 premium users, now you'll get 600 gigabytes of storage on top of that 80 gigabytes for 680 gigabytes total. I won't go through all the different permutations, but as you can imagine, this makes a big difference. We're really encouraging Business Central to meet the needs for a wide variety of customers. So if you're some of the larger customers running Nav on-premise or Business Central on-premise and looking to move to the cloud, we think this is going to be a big unblocker. We think the pricing is going to be much more rational. We think it's going to be very very cost-effective now to move to the cloud. Of course, we continue to be great for smaller customers or high-volume partners that want to go and do lots of customers of different sizes. And so for now, we have our pricing makes sense. So the bigger the customer are, the more users you pay, the more storage you get. And then if you are a customer that happens to be a small number of users but has a large amount of storage, we are reducing the overall price. So before, it was $40 per gigabyte for extra storage a month. Now we're dropping that fee to $10 a gigabyte, quite a bit of a nice drop there. But perhaps even more significantly, we're going to add a 100 gigabyte bundle. So if you purchase the 100 gigabytes, you'll get, that's going to cost $500. 500 divided by 100 is $5 a gigabyte, quite a bit cheaper than that $40 a gigabyte before. So even if you're a 10 or 20 user customer and you think you might have a couple hundred gigabytes of storage, now you can make that purchase at a price that we think is going to be highly competitive. And we really think storage is no longer going to be an impediment for customers moving to the cloud. And so for the customers out there that have moved to the cloud, we're very excited about that. But for the ones that storage was sort of one of the things that we're concerned about, I hope this is a topic we don't have to bring up again, that these new pricing and model will really sort of change the way, from being kind of a major sort of issue to really being, frankly, a non-issue for Business Central. All right. This slide is one of my favorites. I love showing this. I have to be cautious when I show this. Our accounting team kind of limits what we can talk about in terms of sort of specifics in Business Central. But here's what we can show. So the first thing is we have around 15,000 customers for Business Central. This is phenomenal. When there was less than 5,000 customers, a year ago when, before I joined the team, an incredible sort of growth rate that we have. I won't talk about any sort of specific competitors, but we've seen other small and mid-market, SaaS competitors out there. And to be clear, this is just our online SaaS customers. We have, dramatically more customers of this running Nav, GP, and SL on-prem. So just running in the cloud, we have that 15,000. And at the rate we're growing, we think we're going to surpass, competitors that have been running SaaS offerings in the space for, 20 plus years. And so we think the progress we made is phenomenal. Apps on Outsource, 1,400 apps. Thank you, the community, the partners. We're number one by a lot in terms of products at Microsoft with apps on AppSource. And so we have, I worked in SharePoint, I worked in Office, great apps, a lot of apps on AppSource for them, far less than 1,400. Business Central really is the leader in terms of the ISV community in this space. And then you'll see that next number, 200% annual user growth. This is really incredible. And you may notice that our user growth is actually outpacing our customer growth. And this makes sense for two reasons. So the first reason is some of our existing customers add additional users. So we have, existing customers, they bought 20 users before and they buy another 5 or 10 users. And so that way and we rarely have a customer subtract users. And so you see growth that way. But the second part is we're seeing more and more larger customers. And so in the past, you might have seen customers with 10, 15, 20 users. You still see lots and lots of those, but now you might see customers with 20, 40, 50, 100, 200, 400, 500 users. And so when those things average out, the average number of users per customer is actually significantly going up. And so as we have customers kind of going up at this rate, you'll actually see users going up even at more significant rates. And then last, 2,700 partners. So many of our partners have made the transition from selling Nav on-prem or Business Central on-prem to selling Business Central to the cloud. We expect this to keep going up. And really, a great part of being the part of these events is really making sure that, we hope every last one of you here is transacting Business Central in the cloud. We really do think it's the future and the best way to use your business applications. So I mentioned the progress that we've made with larger customers. I wanted just to give one example. They have a session at this conference. We hope that people can attend that session. And the partner is 4PS, a great partner of ours. And they brought in a customer with about 700 plus users. So even for Business Central, that's a healthy size customer. And they use the performance toolkit. And so one of the big questions we get asked is, hey, will Business Central work for my customer with X number of users or Y size database or this number of transactions? And the answer is almost always yes, but it can depend on your own code, your own design, transactions, trying to be as efficient as possible. And with the performance toolkit, we now let customers really simulate real usage. Since they were able to go out, run this toolkit, simulate lots of users hitting the system in kind of real world example ways, measure the performance, and have confidence before they went live that the service would actually meet their performance needs. This was really successful. There'll be a whole session about the details of this. So we encourage as many partners as possible, download the toolkit, try it out, start using it, especially for your larger customers. It's a great way for you to sort of, measure the performance of your solution, see if you have any regressions from release to release, measure it in different scenarios, really make sure it's optimized, really making sure that what you have is sort of really optimized for the cloud. And so we encourage people to go ahead and use that and attend the session. So performance improvements. Of course, the performance toolkit is a really great way for how ISVs like yourself or partners to customize their solutions. But we, as Microsoft, are investing quite a bit in just the foundational performance. And so we continue to work hard about how do we frankly make everything faster, whether it be core operations, core queries, the role centers, services, APIs, the customer experience, UI flows, administration, database upgrades, reporting, a long list. When we go through we call it grooming. That's a term that we use for each release when we sort of evaluate what features we're going to do. There's always a large number of items around performance. We have a very passionate engineering team on this space, and we continue to make great progress here. And so if you think you know what Business Central is capable of, you think you know the performance, check out 2021 Wave 1. These performance improvements, some will be subtle, some will be noticeable. And of course, we're going to continue to make improvements going forward. GitHub. We're huge fans of GitHub, not just because Microsoft, of course, now owns GitHub, but it's been a fantastic community for Business Central to work with others, really, in terms of getting feedback and in some cases actually contributing back to the product. So we now have this great GitHub repo. We have, I think, 25 partners that have done pull requests, sort of making changes. And I want to just highlight, I think 2,700 requests basically went through GitHub that were processed for the release. It's a fantastic way for partners to give us feedback. They can go in the GitHub, create, I think it's an issue in GitHub. We can see that issue. In many cases, the issues aren't necessarily problems, but requests or things that people would want to see, maybe events that are added to the product. But I wanted to call out one partner in particular, which is EasyStep. EasyStep actually went and added a great barcode scanning solution. So I just want to show a quick video, and I want to introduce Rick Bloom from EasyStep and sort of talk about the great work that they've done and how they've added it to Business Central via GitHub. So, Rick?
Hi, I'm Rick Bloom, EasyStep to the Netherlands. We received a question from our international manufacturing and warehouse customers for barcode labeling and printing. We could have monetized that ourselves, but we chose not to, because we believe in the power of the community. Barcode printing and labeling is not unique. It's the code everyone wants. We think it's commodity. And commodity belongs in the community. And that's why we shared it on GitHub. And by sharing this on GitHub, we help every customer and every partner of Microsoft in the whole world. I challenge you to join the Business Central community and share your commodity code to GitHub. By doing so, you're helping the community, you're helping the Microsoft engineers, and you help yourself. But most of all, you help your customers, enabling SMEs globally to use the best features of the software available. We are happy to share our part of the code and being part of the community. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Rick. Yeah, it's just fantastic to see the contributions from Easy Step. We're just very excited about this whole new model with GitHub. We think there's a lot of opportunities for partners to take the things that are common, so we're not all reinventing the wheel, doing sort of the same thing, adding them sort of the core part of extensions inside of Business Central. And that will let partners then really focus on the high value parts. So it makes sense for their industry, for their solution, for their business, for their geography. And so we think this model has a lot of legs and a lot of potential. Again, a huge thank you, and we look forward to more partners contributing on GitHub in the future. So I want to now introduce another fantastic partner, which is NAB. So at the beginning of this keynote, we talked about onboarding. We talked about our investment in building an onboarding toolkit, really allowing partners to build solutions tailored and customized for their customers, for their solution, for their solutions. And NAB has been one of our early adopters, and so I want to welcome Frederick from NAB, and he'll briefly talk to you about the work they've been doing with onboarding.
Hi, I'm Frederick from NAB in Sweden. NAB, as some of you might know, is a Business Central partner, and we were fortunate enough to become Business Central Partner of the Year last year. What I will show you right now is a couple of slides where we actually have implemented the checklist feature within our own implementations with customers. This checklist actually helps the customer get going a lot easier to validate data and get more familiar and accustomed to Business Central. In these next couple of slides, we'll actually show you how we've implemented the virtual guides to our own apps. As you can see, the customer will get a lot more help, get up and running with an app without leaving Business Central, which we think is really good. We're really looking forward to what this onboarding framework will help us with in the future. And thanks for listening to us. Bye.
All right. Thank you, Frederick. Really great to see the earlier work on onboarding. And this is just the beginning. We think there's going to be many, many partners building solutions on onboarding, many creative ideas that people are thinking about, many creative ideas that probably no one's thought about at this point. It'll be very interesting to see what the partner community does with its sort of underlying capabilities. I'm looking forward to seeing the innovations in this space going forward. And now I want to go ahead and hand it over to Klaus and Yannick. They're going to lead the team in a bunch of demos, showing some of the new exciting things that are part of Business Central Wave 1. So Yannick, Klaus, I'd like to introduce you.
Thank you, Mike. As Mike just showed, we have invested in 3 main areas in this release. It's really about onboarding better with Microsoft 365 and best-of-breed solutions. And in a few moments, our team will demo a fraction of all the great capabilities, innovations, and enhancements we put into this release. So remember to go and see the breakout sessions. I want to say we keep monitoring the trends in the market and constantly bring new capabilities to Business Central to help customers with their digital transformation, like our new capability to search in Business Central from Teams. However, I also want to say that it is important to remember that we are monitoring the idea side and reviewing every week. So this time, we have actually delivered on the number 1 idea from that side. We've delivered 56 ideas in total. That's 3,027 votes, representing 10% of all votes. So keep going to aka.ms/BC ideas to enter your input for future improvements and vote also for the existing ideas.
As Yannick said, we've delivered on the number 1 idea, report extensibility, which we will show you in a moment. I also need to mention some of the other important things that we've delivered on in this release, like indexes on tables and table extensions, improved capabilities for delegated admins when administering job queues, and moving tenants between AAD tenants. I encourage you to go and read all the details on aka.ms/BC release plans, where you can see all the details of everything we have in this release. This is where you can get an idea of what to include in your demos for future customers and also existing customers. We've brought with us some of the team that will show you a few demos related to onboarding better together with Microsoft 365 and best-of-breed solutions. So now I want to welcome Mike Borg-Cardona to show us more about that.
Thanks, Klaus and Yannick. Well, do you spend many valuable hours just hand-holding your customers through getting Business Central set up and learning the basics? We'd like to help you reduce that manual effort so that your consulting hours can be instead spent on adding new value to your new customers and adding new customers to your portfolio. Now, the secret, of course, is in automation and in packaging up your IP, your expertise, in a way that is highly consumable and highly repeatable. Business Central offers a couple of tools to help you do this, such as extensions, App Source, Rapid Start as well. But with this release, we're introducing 2 new and exciting capabilities, which we think will really change the game for customer onboarding. The first is a Getting Started checklist, which sits right here in this welcome banner on the Roll Center. Now, we've opened up this prime real estate for you to craft your own set of tasks, guided tasks that users can actually go through themselves to finalize setup of Business Central. Now, what you see here are a couple of example tasks that we've put in the box for you to go and try out. But as you saw earlier, you can also craft your own, just like partner NAB did, where they've made this really fit the unique offering that they go to market with. Now, some tasks here really lend themselves well to opening up a wizard, which guides the user through this step-by-step, such as setting up email, whilst other tasks here lend themselves better to simply going into the main setup page. And that's where our second capability lights up. These are teaching tips. Now, you author concise and insightful explanations of important pages, important fields and actions, and Business Central lights them up at the same time. In fact, if you add a few of these on a page, we turn that into a tour that the user can follow and step through to understand the most important things on the page and really help them understand the basic fundamental concepts that will help them succeed in completing their task. And we also help the user go back to that checklist. So how do you build these experiences? Well, using, of course, the tools you're already familiar with, we have AL and Visual Studio Code. So with just a few lines of code here, I am creating a simple example extension for waste management for Business Central. And I'm adding my custom task to this checklist that reflects my own solution. And I'm also adding a teaching tip that draws attention to an important field that I've also added to the customer card. And I really want the customer to understand the meaning of this and also make sure they fill it in. Now, this is all AL, of course. So you already know how to add your own logic, add your own translations, build, run, and test this. And the output is something like this. So by combining your Rapid Start packages, which include your template data that you want this particular customer in this particular industry to have, together with your checklist, which includes your specially crafted set of tasks to help the customer finalize their setup, together with your additional teaching tips and tours to help them learn as they grow, we think we really have a strong combination here of tools that can help you, 1, bring your IP to market, 2, do that in an effective way, which frees up a whole bunch of consultant time, and also make sure that these customers are able to get to productive usage faster. And productivity, of course, getting to productivity fast is super important because it means they can resume business fast and take advantage of all the great features that Business Central has to offer, such as this one, the Business Central app for Microsoft Teams. Now, let's say I spend a whole bunch of my time purchasing and selling for my company. And what I used to do that in person, of course, but now I just do that using Microsoft Teams, which really empowers me to work remotely, collaborate with my team, but also connect with my customers and others outside of my direct organization. Now, I've set up my digital workspace here to have everything I need to work effectively. I've got my team, I've got my Power BI reports, and I've got my Excel worksheets with data from Business Central. And what we've added now in this release is the ability to really quickly search for business contacts from Business Central. So here I'm going to search for this vendor who I've typically purchased the Amsterdam lamp from, which I need to restock. And notice how I search as I type, it narrows down that list, and there's the contact that I've been speaking to at Fabricam. So I've got quick access to the contact details right here. I've got the phone number, I've got the email address. So if I want to go ahead and set up a meeting or start a call, I've got those details right there. But I can also dive into the additional details that Business Central has to offer. Again, don't forget, I'm still entirely within the world of Teams here. This is the contact card for Crystal York, and I can see all of the past interactions that we have had with Crystal. I can, with a click, just jump into the vendor record to see all of the details, all of the insights, such as the balance. I can even make quick, lightweight edits right here inside Teams. Let's just update that phone number, which has changed. And of course, I can also create new documents, such as a purchase order, to capture that order for the additional lamps. There we go. Now, with Context Search, I've got more business insights directly inside Teams. I've got a more effective way to increase the efficacy of my communication. I've got the ability to quickly look up information without having to switch apps and do those additional clicks and go back again. So it's also a time saver, it's efficiency. And of course, I can also capture purchase and sales documents on the fly during calls and during meetings with my customers and my vendors. Now, edits I make inside Microsoft Teams, they are saved back immediately to Business Central, which means that these plug into all of the business processes and workflows that work off these documents. For example, here I can already see the purchase order that I've just created. And if I had created a sales quote or a sales order for a particular customer, it would be ready to act on right here inside Business Central. Speaking of sales, looks like this customer has a particularly high balance who must have landed that really important deal with them just over that Teams call the other day. Now, I'd like to follow up and just make sure we have a full understanding of that everything's been accounted here for this customer, for these recent sales. So for that, I'm going to reach out to our accountant, who today is played by Maria, a software engineer at Microsoft. Hey, Maria, could you check that everything is accounted for? Now I can paste that link in here. There we go. And the Business Central app for Teams will expand that into a card, which include those contact details. There you go, Maria. Over to you.
Thank you, Mike. Now, the task that I was asked to do is fairly simple because we can notice the customer's significant balance directly in Teams. Nevertheless, let's be thorough and check if everything is in order. From the card Mike sent me on Teams, we can navigate directly to the customer card in Business Central. From here, we can open the most recent posted ledger entries for that customer, and we can easily verify that all of the invoices are indeed posted in April, so that the revenue from these will be present in our financial reports. However, when we take a closer look, we notice that a mistake has been made by choosing the Prod department code. That means that our financial reports will be incorrect when split by dimensions. By drilling down the number, we find out that it was a single set of transactions posted to the same geo register that had the incorrect dimension assigned. When we open the geo entries, we see that they were all posted with the wrong department code. We can actually have them all fixed. We start correcting the dimensions by selecting all of the geo entries and simply choosing correct dimension actions. With dimension correction, we can change the dimensions to already posted general ledger entries. First, I'm prompted to provide a description that will allow other users know what this correction was all about. I'm just going to write down change prod to sales. We can choose to postpone updating the analysis views in case our dataset is large and will affect our financial reporting. In the next section, we see all the dimension assigned to the selected ledger entries. In our case, we just want to change the department code from prod to sales. In the last section, we can observe all the selected general ledger entries, and we can choose to add some or delete some if needed. Before applying the actual correction, we can choose to validate the dimension changes we're about to make. Applying the correction itself is as easy as running the tool. When we're dealing with large dataset, we can choose to do so in a background task so that the process won't disturb other users' work. In our case, since it's a small dataset, we choose to run it immediately. Done. Our dimension correction succeeded. So now the general ledger entries have the right department assigned. While mistakes like that are rare, it's nice to have a tool to correct them when needed. Now, what will be even better is to have a way to prevent such mistakes from happening in the first place. Let's see how we can achieve it. Back to the customer card, we navigate to dimensions. Here we see the default dimensions assigned to the customer, and we can configure them as well as limit the allow values. In our case, we want to make the department code mandatory. We want it to be included in all the posting, and we want to exclude prod from the allowed values. That way, posting to prod department cannot happen ever again. The ability to be that precise when configuring dimensions, combined with the dimension correction tool I just showed you, is a tremendous productivity boost to any accountant who want their reports to be exhaustive, flawless, and precise. Now, off to my colleague Peter, who is going to show us another exciting feature of Business Central.
Thank you, Maria. My name is Peter Boring, and I'm the Program Manager for the Business Central Developer Tools team. So I'm really, really happy to be here to be able to present this new feature. So a very common scenario in Business Central is to customize reports to match customer requirements. And up until now, that has only been possible by actually replacing the report. And that meant that partners would be forced to actually branch off the report they want to customize. It would also mean that any partners who would like to modify those instead downstream would also have to branch. And all of that is costly and adds a maintenance burden for even common, simple changes. That is a gap that's been around since the introduction of extensions, and that's actually been the top voted idea on our idea side for multiple releases. So I'm very, very proud to talk about here that Business Central 2021 Way 1 introduces support for report extensions. So with that, you can add columns, data items, and labels to reports. You can modify request pages, and you can add new layouts. And with this, you can build on top of contributions, both from the base application, but also from ISV solutions, while keeping in sync with any bug fixes or new functionality to those reports, because you have your own modifications basically kept alone, so to speak. So let's have a look about how we can use that. So let me switch to the client. So in the client here, I have a normal sales invoice, and this is the blue layout that comes out of the box. And I would like to change this. And as we heard earlier in the keynote, in this release, we have support for 1D barcodes through a GitHub collaboration with Easy Step 2. And I would really like to add barcodes representing the EIN 13 number for the items in the sales invoice. And then I would also like to make an option in the request page so that we can decide whether we want to print barcodes or not. So let's switch to Visual Studio Code and have a look at the normal standard sales invoice. So this is the report object. Up until now, to do these modifications, I would have to take ownership of all of this code. And this is actually, not one of the most complicated reports, but there's a lot of code here that I would have to take ownership of and own going forward. However, luckily with this release, we have support for report extensions. So of course, I would like to use report extensions. So I created a report extension here. What it does is that it adds a new joint data item because I want to get to the GTIN or the EIN 13 number on item. So I join with item in a new data item. And then I have a trigger code that will actually take that GTIN number and encode it as a barcode. Then I add that barcode to my data set. And in my request page section, I'm going to introduce a new field that controls whether we have barcodes visible or not when we print the sales invoice. So as you can see here, it's a lot less code that you have to own and maintain. And so that's a much more efficient way of making modifications to reports. So if we go to the client, where I already deployed this, this extension and selected the layout that I created also a custom Word layout in this case, building on top of the blue layout, where I added the barcode functionality. So let's have a look at that. So here I have my posted sales invoices. I'm going to pick one of those, say print and send. And in the request page here, you will see that we now have an option to include barcodes. So I'm of course going to select that. And if we then preview this sales invoice, you will see there's barcodes in there. It looks great. So this is a really, really cool feature. Now, I of course would like to have this printed as well. And normally you would print this through your browser. But if I look at my printer options here, I see that I have a couple of additional printers. I have warehouse and office and reception, and these are all physical printers, but not in my location. And so how can that be? Well, in this release, we are also adding support for Universal Print. Universal Print is a service from Microsoft 365 that allows you to manage local and cloud printers, and Business Central supports that. And so what you can do is that you can go to Printer Management, to the Universal Print section here, and you can add any Universal Print to Business Central and use that to print. So, to wrap up, in this demo, I showed you three things. I showed you how you can now take advantage of report extensions, a really, really powerful mechanism to make customizations to reports in a very cost-efficient way. I showed you how we, in this release, support 1D barcodes that you can use in your product. And then finally, you saw that we have support for Universal Print that allows you to print to cloud and local printers. Thank you, and over to Mike.
Thanks, team. Really a fantastic set of demos. Very exciting to see what's coming out in Business Central 2021 Wave 1. And I know the engineering team is already working hard on 2021 Wave 2. So I want to now talk about Business Central and our commitment to our products. A question that I often get asked is, hey, we know Business Central is great in the cloud. How long are you going to support? What's the timeline for supporting Business Central on-prem? And the short version is we plan on continuing to support Business Central for a long time. Of course, Business Central in the cloud is our flagship product. We're here having this conference, very excited about our work online. But Business Central on-prem remains a core part of our offering. We expect to release new versions of on-prem, of course, in Wave 1 and Wave 2, but also next year and the year beyond that and years after that. And so we do want people to move on that journey to the cloud, but we do want to make sure that we meet customers where they are, whether it be on-prem or in the cloud. And of course, for our customers in Australia, some of them might be running Dynamics GP. For them, it might be logical to move to Business Central, but we'll also be continuing to support Dynamics GP, including updates there, again, for this year and next year and the years after that. So we want to just let folks know, hey, if you bet on Business Central, you're going to bet on a product that has the support of Microsoft and, of course, the great support of you guys in the community. All right, on to the roadmap. So, of course, we're not resting on our laurels. We think we have a great release in 2021 Wave 1, but we know there's always a lot more to do. And so when you saw this wave, you saw us start some big initiatives. You saw us work on onboarding and sort of the first release there. Teams, we did a little bit in 2020 Wave 2, a little bit more last release, but we're going to do quite a bit more in Teams, in an office and office integration. And so one of the themes that you'll see for the 2021 Wave 2 release is that we're going to continue going and investing in those foundation, in those core, making sure that we have not just the foundations for an onboarding solution, but really a great, really fleshed out onboarding solution. And so that's why we want your feedback. We want your input. We want to make sure that we're doing the next set of things to really make sure we make that end-to-end experience work great. Whether it be the integrations, I mentioned Teams, I mentioned Dataverse, Power BI, Power Platform, the next set of investments to really make sure we round those off, have really rich, full-featured solutions built on those platforms, Power Automate. I even sort of skipped the first couple bullets here. A seamless service. We're going to continue to invest in performance, security, scale, administration, supportability, privacy, compliance, security, all these things that, may not seem as exciting to kind of go into details and as a fun demo as seeing some of the reporting or universal prints or other capabilities that we showed. But we know are absolutely foundational to us running a product, knowing that it can run day in, day out consistently. And of course, we're continuing to be invested for the partner ecosystem. So we're going to work on developer tools, making it easier to build up great solutions on top of us. The modern tools that we have on Visual Studio, our VS Code, we think are fantastic. And we're going to sort of keep working on what are the sort of top asks from ISVs. And so it's not just customer asks, but asks from ISVs and partners. And then last on the list, again, geographic expansion. You've seen the map of the world start to turn blue, or I think teal is the color that we're using. We're just going to keep working through that. We're going to keep trying to get those remaining countries, trying to get Business Central to be as globally available as we possibly can. And so again, this is a very kind of brief version of the roadmap. You'll probably be hearing more hints throughout the different sessions that you have during the week. But sort of a key part that we want to do is that we want to be partner and customer reactive. And so when we think about our roadmap, Yannick talked about the ideas site. Continue giving us that feedback, give us that input. What do you think is most important? We're listening. Really want to make sure that we make the product the best for you to sell as partners and the best for our customers to actually use. All right, next steps. These are all great links for Business Central. Many of you guys have a release plan as a fantastic way to see what's new in the product and in a certain wave. We think the Learn site's a great place to go and learn about Business Central, all the rich and deep capabilities. I mentioned ideas already a couple times, a great place to give us feedback. And of course, the tech site for many of the developers out there, a great place to learn about the more technical resources, doing development, samples, best practices, etc. Again, these are great resources. I had these committed to my head. Hopefully many of you do now, but I'll keep showing this because it really is a good way. If you want to learn about Business Central, go quickly find the information that you need. And so we hope everybody has a fantastic Directions event. I hope you enjoyed this keynote. We have another keynote with Cecilia. She's going to be talking about a lot of the business and go-to-the-market parts of Business Central. Definitely tune in for that. Will be a lot of great information. Many of the team members will be part of breakouts and live Q&A sessions. Definitely be part of those. It's a great way to get your question answered. Go ahead, ask the tough questions. We like them. We like to get the feedback. And then, of course, engage the rest of the community. We have tons of experts outside of Microsoft, a lot of great partners giving a lot of great sessions. Converse, we know in this virtual platform, things are a little bit different than in person, but we think it's really a great way for you to connect with others that are part of this conference. And so really engage, speak out. I think that the more you put in, the more you'll get out of it. And so I'll just finish off with just kind of a big thank you. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to be here. Thank everyone for being part of Business Central, and enjoy the next couple of days at Directions Asia.